Thank you so much, Kronos. Looks like a Nine Inch Nails video. Sounds like a Nine Inch Nails video. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Seven Kinds of Mischief. I'm your host, Stone Loki, and with me tonight, of course, is my co-pilot on Thursdays, the one, the only, the doctor of disaster and destruction, Adega Outlaw.
Howdy.
How are you doing tonight, brother?
Not bad. You were speaking of that Nine Inch Nails video. There's the, if you ever wanted to take apart that song and the video included with all the monarch butterflies, the torn off faces and stuff, and it's the song Came Back Haunted. If you understood, the guy is telling you what's really going on, and it's quite disgusting. But anyway.
Oh, yeah. I used to be a big Pantera. You remember Pantera?
I do.
Pantera, they were from my neck of the woods. They were from Dallas. Dimebag Darrell and his group of outlaws. Man, what a band. What a band. I used to love listening to Pantera all the time. It was like a constant thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, my upgrade from AC/DC was Pantera. It's like, holy shit, I found a band I like more. And then poof, they were gone.
Right?
Dimebag Darrell, yeah, Pod Racing Palpatine, Dimebag Darrell, holy shit. Well, we got some spooky and I'm going to explain shit for you happening tonight. I do feel like talking some strange and weird. And what do you got? What do you got for us? I mean, you said something about
first I have to give a you're not supposed to give excuses when you give talks, but you know what? I owe it to you guys because probably in a week or two, and it has nothing to do with my books, I've been extremely busy and away from the computer doing all kinds of different things. So I don't have anything prepared from research or anything else, but I do have is a true life actual experience. And I have never done drugs. I've never done alcohol, except there was one time when I had a little bit in eggnog that I didn't know there was rum in it, and it was awfully good.
But, yeah. Yeah.
But I had no idea. So it's, I'm half native, half Irish. I don't do this stuff. So what I'm telling you is actual perceptions of what I saw. Like I said, since I don't have anything else prepared, it's so you could take it or leave it for what you want. But for those of you who know me, I'm an honest person. So I'm gonna fill you on that story and then hang out and listen to Loki, of course. So, we all start off life with different anticipations and motivations and all kinds of visions of what you want things to do. And when I hit 17, I was working my tail off, earning lots of money and getting ready to hightail it out of California and away from my parents. And I did. And I moved with some friends of mine from another state, a couple of them from Arizona, and another guy from South Carolina. It was a good group of guys, and we started hanging out in Ohio, believe it or not. And my roommate, and the only reason I bring this up is simply because of you'll understand why I bring it up, because race really doesn't matter to me. But he was a dark guy from North Carolina, a Tar Heel. I had to learn what a Tar Heel was, and so he was my roommate, and we came home from work, and the guy loved grits for some reason. Always had grits. And we had this apartment above another apartment. It's one of those houses where they split into a apartment. And we had the upstairs. And there was an escape stairwell to one side. We had the main entrance up the stairwell in the middle of the house. And our kitchen was in the side and back. We had an outlook over part of the city. It was really kind of cool, actually. And so we sat down, he made his grits, and I lived on next to nothing because it was dirt poor. But we were working for it. And so I was making mine, and then I heard this rattle while he's sitting down at the table eating his grits. And I looked over, and his hands were up in the air, and his feet were under the table with his knees shaking, but he wasn't touching the table. and that bowl of grits was jiggling and dancing around on the table. At first I thought there was an earthquake, but nothing was moving. And he got off of his chair and ran to the bedroom and just gone. And I looked and the thing was still shaking for just a little bit. And then it quit. And I thought, what the heck? You know, this must be one of those ghost stories. Sometimes the neighbors get loud, but they don't get loud enough to shake things, because this was significant. You could really see it dancing around on the table. So I went to his room, and this is why I brought up he was a black guy, dark-skinned. He had his covers pulled all the way up, and I turned the light on. Well, I didn't actually have the light on, but I had the door open. It shined into his room, and all you could see were these big white eyeballs just sticking over his covers. The guy was terrified. And so we talked a little bit about it, because I've had experiences before. There's not a lot that really scares me. And I said, you still want your dinner? And he says, yes. I figured I'll be a nice guy. I'll go grab his dinner and bring it into him. And so I decided I'm go back into the kitchen, grab his dinner, you know, maybe swear at the ghost to chase it off. And maybe some of you have had this experience before. I never had. I mean, like I said, I've been around ghost experiences before, but not like this. You hear of rooms going cold, but there's a type of cold that is not just external, but internal. It chills you deep inside. And I felt that as soon as I walked into the kitchen. And I'm mostly colorblind, and I could only see color at a very fine point towards the center of my focus. You know, that most people have about a 40 degree, but at first I thought there was something wrong with my vision, but it seemed to just lose everything except for a center point where it turned kind of gray and everything else was black, like the lights were going out. Didn't completely go out. And then I saw them. There was 3 spirits, ghosts, whatever you call them. They weren't happy. They weren't aggressive, but they were quite malevolent, and you could feel it with the cold and the way things were shaking. And they went by me out the kitchen and down the emergency stairwell, all 3 of them. And the hair on the back of my neck stood straight up. And my heart started racing. And I ended up in my roommate's room as well, not quite happy with what I had just seen or felt. Eventually I calmed myself down, and you know, it's times like those when if you're a Christian, you say your prayers, you know. And we didn't have that problem again. But there are those people around who say, oh, you know what, ghosts aren't real. These guys that do the ghost hunting things, you know, are chasing electromagnetic impulses or radio interference or what have you. But I, for one, know that those things actually do exist. Not from just that experience, but that one was really surreal, to where it wasn't just that spooky feeling that you're being watched, or seeing cards fly off a table, or your drawers are opened when you left the room, they were closed, or your keys are missing and they find them in the same spot where you had just looked a minute ago. But no, this was actually quite real, and left me with no doubts that we had some unwanted guests for a short time in that place. So I don't share that story very much because most people don't believe it. But since I came unprepared otherwise, I figured to let you guys know this. I was 19 years old part of my spiritual journey into understanding how the universe works, and I still don't know, but it helped me realize there's a lot of things that are a lot bigger than we are. But another part of the story too is they didn't hurt us, just scared the bejeebies out of us.
Just scared the shit out of you.
Oh yeah.
Purple Valkyrie asked, did you have any other encounters, Adega?
Yes, I've had a lot. I don't talk about them because, like I said, I mentioned this on Tuesday. I've had so many experiences, people would think I'm just a liar. Even people that are friends of mine, when I start saying all the different things that have happened in my life, the places I've been. I mean, it's all mostly, I've been to Mexico, but most of the stuff has been in the United States. But I have lived a rich life, and I've had more than one experience with these things. So, yeah, I have. But that one was probably the most dramatic because most of the time you just see a shadow or an influence, not full 3 apparitions, except I didn't see their feet for some odd reason. But yeah.
All right. Well, tonight I have got a story for all of you. It is, again, from Creepypasta. And this was written by Tobias Wade. There is no fear as potent as the fear of the unknown. No monstrous visage discovered yet has been as terrifying as the infinite potential for horror which exists before the mask is removed. That is why we as humans, in our naive misunderstanding of the universal order, have gripped by the mortal fear of death. We think it the final frontier, the greatest imaginable unknown from whose innumerable shores no traveler may return. And so we cling desperately onto even the most dreary and anguished lives, suffering any known evil over our release into the beyond. But death is not to be feared, because death is very well understood. We have witnessed it, caused it, measured, and recorded it to the last dying spasm of neuron flickering. Even as I lay dying, it seemed silly to me that I should be afraid of the emptiness which reason promised to expect. While I was alive, I wouldn't experience death, so there was no reason to be afraid now. When I was dead, I wouldn't be capable of experiencing anything, so fear still had no cause. That thought brought me great comfort as I felt the last erratic struggle from my heart against the inevitable conclusion I approached. It wasn't until I was finally drifting off that a final intrusive doubt bubbled in my brain. What if it isn't death which is to be feared? What if it is what lies beyond? And so troubled did I slip beyond mortal understanding, stepping into a world as far forsaken by reason as I was now from life. I was still in the hospital room, but the bustle of nurses and the beeping machines lost their opacity as though I was mired in swiftly descending dusk. It seemed as though every sound was an echo of what it once was, every sight a reflection. With each passing moment, the world was becoming less real. But all that sight and sound, all that being, it wasn't simply disappearing. It was transforming into a figure beside me. The less real my room became, the more real the figure was, until presently it existed in such sharp actuality that nothing beside it seemed real at all. His cloak was ironically black, not the color black, but its essence was black. It was as though seeing a tiger after a lifetime of looking at a child's crude drawing and thinking that's all a tiger was. Reality flowed around his scythe like a brush through water, and I could see each elementary particle and time itself sunder across its blade. Surely Surely this, I thought, this is why we were taught without words to fear death. I clutched at my hospital blanket to cower from the intensity of the reaper. But the once soft cotton now flowed like translucent mist through my hands. I knew in that moment that nothing could hide me from this specter's presence, for he was the only real thing in this world. You're late. They weren't words. My head ached from the strain of this knowledge as my lateness was burned into my awareness, imparted like an inescapable law of physics as unequivocal as gravity. We don't have time for the usual speech right now. I felt myself swept up around him like dirt in a hurricane. Before I knew what was happening, we were outside the hospital, moving at such a frenzied pace that the world around me blurred into a dizzying tunnel of flashing light. If you're lucky, it will have gotten bored waiting for you. I had too many questions, all fighting for attention in the forefront of my brain without any way of making their way out. You're quiet. I admire that. Usually people ask too many questions. What's the point? I asked. My voice felt flat and dead compared to his overwhelming substance. How can I try to comprehend something so beyond my knowledge? You can't, but it's still human nature to ask. We weren't slowing. If anything, our pace was increasing. I wasn't running or flying or anything of that nature. It was more like the rest of the world was moving around us while we stood absolutely still. A vague darkness and a heavy, damp smell made me guess that we'd gone somewhere else underground, but I couldn't say for sure exactly where I was. One question I asked: what else is there besides you? And that is why questions are pointless. Death is not a place or a person. It is all that there is. A troubling thought, but made more so by the growling howl which began reverberating in the rocks around me. We still seemed to be descending into something, and the air was growing warmer and denser. The sound was reverberating through me. It continued to mount as though the world itself was suffering. And that's when I asked, what is it? What I'm here to take you from. The rock split from a flash of his scythe, and the ground opened further into the sprawling cavern dominated by a subterranean lake. But I thought you said you were all there is. No, I said death was all there is. We weren't moving any longer. Light glinted off the scythe from some unseen source and streamed into the lake like a trebuchet. Once inside, the light didn't reflect or dissipate, but swirled and danced almost like a luminescent oil. I thought, death is not a person. The light was taking a life of its own inside the water. The still surface began to churn with the enigmatic energy. It took my scattered mind a long time to realize that I was the energy flowing into the lake. I still felt tangled up with the figure, but we now existed as a beam of light boiling into this water. I knew I wouldn't understand, but that didn't stop me from feeling frustrated. If death is all there is, then what is it? What was waiting for me? The water pressed in around me, and I couldn't speak, although I could still draw breath. It is here. Something was in the water around me. Hands grabbed me by the legs and started dragging me down. I was amazed to even discover that I had limbs again. It seemed impossible after what I'd just gone through, but I had limbs again. They felt alien. It was almost as though the body wasn't mine. Light flashed from the scythe again and again. The hands let go and the howling rose once more. The Reaper was fighting something. Although I couldn't make any sense of what it was, I couldn't make any sense of the battle except for the madness of thrashing in the water. The howling earth reached a crescendo, and the screams that I heard made the water around me convulse and contract like living fluid. Had the Reaper cut it? Was I safe? I began to explore my new body in the water, but just when I thought I was beginning to gain control, hands, they gripped me by my feet. I lurched downward, struggling in vain against their grip. What is here? I tried to shout against the suffocating liquid. What is happening to me? But I couldn't sense the Reaper's presence anymore. The heat was unbearable, but the cold depths the hands were dragging me towards, that was even worse. I became aware of a blinding light at the bottom of the lake, and though I struggled, the hands dragged me towards it. It was blinding. I couldn't fight it. I'm sorry, I couldn't fight it off. It seemed to be coming from so far away now. We will try again next time. The pressure, the heat, the noise, the hands dragging me into that blinding light. I closed my eyes and screamed. And suddenly, I was free from the water. I kept screaming and screaming. I couldn't stop. I couldn't bear to look at it. Whatever had grabbed me and stolen me. Whatever it wasn't death. Whatever it was, even the Reaper could not defeat it. Then words. Words spoke to me, real human words from a real human mouth. My senses were distraught, on fire. But I'm guessing those words went something like this. Congratulations. He's a healthy baby boy. Most people can't remember the day they die or the day they were born. I happen to remember both. And I know for a fact they were on the same day.
That's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, death and rebirth. I thought it was pretty cool when I read it.
Yeah. Did not go where I expected it to. That one had me more surprised than the other ones.
No, I liked it though. It wasn't that long. Mine wasn't that long either tonight. So, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed reading that earlier, and I enjoyed reading it out loud. No, guys, I do not read it out loud. And the whole, Reaper thing talking, that was just, it was like a last second. I might as well.
Well, it was a good ad.
I stole that from, what was that movie called? Wishmaster. Make your wishes. That guy that did that, I can't remember his name. Let me see if I can get like a picture of this guy. Because, man, when he did this, I was like, holy shit, man. I love the way this guy talks. So, of course, I was like, I've got to find out how I can talk like him.
It wouldn't take you long. You figure things out pretty easily.
Andrew Divoff played the Djinn in, and of course he's played the bad guy in so many different, let me see if I can share this real quick. He's played the bad guy in so many different TV shows, and this is the guy. He played a bad guy in Highlander. He played a bad guy in pretty much every series in the 90s. And
he's got the eyebrows for it.
Yeah. He played the Djinn in Wishmaster. So he was in 48 Hours. He was in Wishmaster. He was in Toy Soldiers, Low Down Dirty Shame. See what other movies he's been in. Badasses, Graveyard Shift, Hunt for Red October, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, The Rage. He's been in like so many different things. It's insane. So he's one of those bad guys that was in pretty much like every movie, everything coming out of the 90s and the early 2000s. But yeah, he did that. He would make your wishes. Don't typecast me. I've got angry eyebrows.
That's one of those things when you were young and your mother said, don't make that face. It'll stick that way. Guess what? Your face stuck, Chris.
Oh, shit. But that was fun. You had a really good story, and that was fun doing mine. And
well, it's true according to me.
So next week, we will be back. We'll have some craziness for you.
Yeah, I'll see if I can get the time to do something better because I'll be able to, like I said, it's not book related, but eventually I'll be able to share with you guys and the reasons why I haven't been able to share. And it's not that big of a deal, but it is that I have to keep a lid on it for a little bit.
Yep. So everyone take care. I know this was short. It was a short one. And you know, that's sometimes how it happens. So we kept it right at 30 minutes. And we will see you guys tomorrow morning. I have no idea what we're doing tomorrow morning. I haven't decided yet. I haven't had time to figure it out yet. But we'll have something. Yes, Kronos, it's over. I know. You're like,
unless someone has a question about spooky stuff real quick. Otherwise, we're done.
Oh, later, guys. Please don't unsub because it was so short. Kronos. Oh God, he's gonna unsub anyway because that's what he always does. Everyone have a great night. Take care, and we will see you guys next time.
Catch you later.
These videos are tremendous. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hammer that notification bell.